Hi everyone, Phil Turtle here with another tip to help you present like a pro. Today I want to talk to you about storytelling, because storytelling has been around sort of forever. Back in the Bible, the Quran, lots of parables, lots of metaphors, all storytelling to help get a point across in an oblique sort of way without hitting the audience head on with what you're trying to tell them and meeting resistance. Because with a story you can sort of go round the edge of the issue, and you're not talking about them per se, but you're talking about their issue just wrapped up in a story about somebody else, and then you leave it for them to go, oh, I can relate to that, I can process that, I can use that. Let me give you a little example. So it's just before Christmas, and there's a little guy, he's about 6 or 7, and he can't wait for Santa to come. He's so excited. And he knows where Mummy and Daddy hide the presents. So this was eating into him. Absolutely. He was beside himself with curiosity. And then it was 5 o'clock in the morning. It was the day before Christmas. And he couldn't actually contain himself any longer. So he tiptoed into the spare bedroom where Mummy and Daddy hid the presents at the back of the wardrobe. And he pulled out the first one. And he started to very carefully peel back the sellotape, peel back the paper, and oh, that's one of last year's presents. Oh, I can't believe they've just wrapped up one of last year's presents. So he put that to one side, went to the wardrobe, got out another present, took it to the middle of the floor, and again he started to carefully peel back the sellotape and the paper, because of course he got to wrap them back up and put them back in the wardrobe so that Mummy and Daddy didn't know he'd peeked. Oh, again, they gave me that present last year. They've just wrapped it up again. And this continued with the third and the fourth. And by this time, he was crying his little eyes out, and he ran through, couldn't contain himself, ran through to Mummy and Daddy's bedroom. Mummy, Daddy, I'm ever so sorry. I couldn't help myself. I had to unwrap the presents to see what they were. But they're the same as last year. Now, at this point in the story, we actually stop and move on to something else altogether. And that's bringing in a second technique from NLP and psychology called opening a loop. Now, I won't go into the detail of that in this tip, because that's a complete tip in itself. But by opening a loop and then moving on to something else, general content of your presentation, you've now set in the audience's head a sort of what happens next, an expectation. It's a bit like the da-da-da-dum at the end of EastEnders. That's intended to leave you on a cliffhanger and make you want to see the next episode. And that's exactly what we do with an open loop. They want to know what the outcome of the story was. But we're not going to tell them just yet, because that heightened expectation is actually going to make them listen more deeply to the rest of your presentation. And you can actually leave that loop open for the whole day, even 2 or 3 days if you're doing a 2 or 3 day course. It's incredibly powerful. Now, most of the NLP trained presenters will actually open 2 or 3 loops right at the start of their presentation, and then as the day goes through, as the presentation goes through, people are that much more attentive. It actually helps to switch off some of the filters that stop us learning, and helps us concentrate more. And then much later, actually towards the very end of your presentation, you'll then come back to it. So little Johnny had rushed into Mummy and Daddy's bedroom, crying his eyes out, "Mummy, Daddy, why have you wrapped up last year's presents?" And Mummy said, "Well, darling, we gave you those presents last year but you didn't use them. And if you don't use your presents, you don't get more. You don't use your gifts. But if you do use your gifts, then you get more. And if you share your gifts with others, then you get double next year. Are you using all your gifts to present well, your gifts to fully share the knowledge you have? Okay guys, there's a great technique to learn. Get out there and present like a pro.